It's nice to sit down, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Hello again. So, shall we watch a video?
Yeah, let's watch a video.
Let's do it.
Uncanny.
There was a very strong sense of pure evil coming from this figure.
Presented by me, Danny Robbins. How did you feel living in that house?
Terrified. The knowledge that there's someone in the room with you. Just horrible.
Real life stories of the supernatural, told by the people they happen to.
As I'm approaching it, I realised what I was looking at wasn't anything I'd ever seen before.
This is the biggest investigation into the paranormal ever.
Mum looked at me and said, "We've got a poltergeist."
Was this the most frightening thing that's ever happened to you?
Yeah. And some people believe it, some people don't. That's fine, but I know it happened. I know what I saw.
So, anyone who's read The Running Order today would have read that I'm a big fan of Danny. And I discovered Danny's podcasts over lockdown and enjoyed many a evening with a little whiskey and my headphones on, listening to a spooky story. Danny, what is it about the paranormal? I mean, I don't believe in ghosts. I am team skeptic. Yet, I love a ghost story. What is it about the paranormal that's stayed at the heart of popular culture for so long?
I think if we get to the heart of it, it's about death. And I think that the reason that we in Britain and also in America particularly are fascinated by ghosts is that we are really bad at dealing with death. And I think ghosts become a kind of a buffer zone, a kind of safety blanket, if you like, that help us process death. You know, and it's the paradox at the heart of any ghost story is that it's frightening, but it offers comfort as well. It offers that possibility that all of this amazing work we do as human beings that we're seeing on stage today, you know, kind of living and loving and building careers and communicating, that idea that it all ceases and just stops when we die, that is more frightening than any ghost story. And that's the weird thing, really, that ghosts are less frightening than death. And I think that we live in a moment now where I think you could draw parallels between now and, say, post-First World War, post-Second World War. We live in this time of chaos and uncertainty and, sadly, death. And I think all of those things have contributed to us having this fresh fascination with the paranormal. And you could feel it in the air right now, can't you? That if you look on Netflix, there's loads of horror, loads of ghost stories out there. Ghost stories are, again, like a literary acceptable art form. There's loads of great ghost novels coming out. And I am getting hundreds and thousands of people actually emailing me their ghost stories. The stats say that I think 1 in 3 people in the UK believe in ghosts. I think it's way more. I think there's loads of people out there having experiences who haven't talked about it, who haven't dared to talk about it for fear of how they will be perceived.
And I guess now they know who to call. Right?
Exactly. Who are you going to call? Me. Yeah.
Danny Robbins.
Exactly. No. But I think, you know, we're clearly in a moment where we're really fascinated by ghost stories.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. This section is about reframe and perspectives. And I think something about the paranormal, even if you don't believe, even if you're a skeptic, it's just feels great to look, perhaps, doesn't it, into something else, something that is otherly.
Well, totally. And I think I always say that ghost stories are a detective story. And if you're a skeptic, it's a how-done-it. You're looking at psychological factors, environmental factors. If you're a believer, it's a who-done-it. You want to know who the ghost is. But I think that they are equally satisfying, whichever camp you come from, team skeptic or team believer. And also, I just think that the moment I stop enjoying a detective story is the moment it finishes, when I find out who the killer is in a great Agatha Christie, whatever. And the thing about ghost stories is they're the detective story that keeps on giving. You know, we probably will not solve this mystery in our lifetimes, but for me, it's that adventure, going on the adventure, trying to work out if there is something bigger than us out there. And I think it comes from a place of being brought up in a belief-free household. I was brought up an atheist by a mum who had been a Catholic. And I used to go to my grandparents' house and I'd see like this scary, sinister picture of Jesus looking down at me, holding his Sacred Heart, and books about popes. And And I was fascinated by the idea of belief and about whether there was a club that I wasn't part of. And I think, some people would have found ghosts. Some people would have found God, and I found ghosts, essentially. And I think that is what has really motivated me, that idea of there could be another layer out
kind of
there.
halfway there then, really, sort of.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, the other thing that inspired me is that when I was in my early 20s, I had a moment where I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was utterly convinced that that was the end of it. I was hallucinating angels. And it turned out that it was a panic attack. And it's something that probably quite a few people here have had, and something that's not life-threatening, but was terrifying in the moment. But it gave me this really profound fear of death for like a good 2 years afterwards. And it sort of still lingers now. And, I just come back to that thing that, that horrible idea that we just stop, that we just cease. And so I'm on this adventure because I would love the idea that ghosts could exist and that death is not the end. And that's the thing that keeps me going, I think.
So you mentioned joining a club, the Ghost Club back then. Uncanny, I feel, has become a little bit of a club, for us geeky members. How did it start? How did your journey get you to Uncanny? And also, I'm fascinated how you keep the balance between like Team Skeptic, Team Believer.
Yeah, I mean, so I've come full circle recently because all of this started when I was writing my play 222, A Ghost Story. Which, some people may have seen it. We kicked off last summer with Lily Allen starring in it, and it's still running now. We've had 3 runs, and it's at the Criterion Theatre down the road at the moment. And so I was researching that, and it all came from a friend of mine who said that she'd seen a ghost. And I remember looking at her and thinking, you're not the kind of person I expect to see a ghost. And subsequently, I've realized that there is no sort of person who sees a ghost. It can happen to anybody to have this kind of experience. But I thought, like with her, people in our friendship group would react to her in really different ways. Some people would laugh at her, some people would mock her, some people would be annoyed by her, some people would completely believe her. And I thought, what if you take those responses and distill that into a relationship between a couple? And so in the play, we have the female part is somebody who believes that there is a ghost in the house, and her husband is somebody who is utterly anti-ghost, refuses to believe. And it's about the clash between those two belief systems, Team Skeptic and Team Believer. So researching that, I asked on social media, and I said, does anybody I know, have you seen a ghost? And I started getting loads of stories. And suddenly it wasn't just people I knew, it was friends of friends and then strangers, and it went viral. And I realized that I had to do something with these stories. It wasn't enough to just keep them as research. So I made my first podcast, Haunted, and then that led to Battersea Poltergeist, when this incredible story landed on my doorstep, which was clearly like a whole series in itself. And that led to Uncanny. And I think the question about how to balance belief and skepticism, I mean, for me, this feels almost like a kind of metaphor for the whole of society at the moment. We live in this age where, particularly if you go out on social media, we are all about division. And you dig your trench. You define yourself as much by what you don't agree with as what you do. I hate you. I don't agree with you. And for me, just trying to create a safe space where people can agree to disagree and respect each other and enjoy things from their own perspective in very different ways. So it doesn't get more polarized than I believe in ghosts, I don't. I mean, that's as polarized as Brexit, basically. But the idea that we can come together and enjoy it in our own ways, like I said, it could be a detective story for both sides. That's so important to me. And we built...
I love the detective side of it. It's
totally.
So balanced.
Yeah. And we built this community now around it, this lovely community, which is really special to me. And I think the idea is that everybody becomes a participant, not a spectator, but a participant. You're empowered. The stories are a beginning. So I tell you about this ghost story. You go away, you dig, you research, you question it, you think about it. It's like today. I mean, each of these talks today is a beginning. You want to find out more about Chinese wine? Go to Aldi. You want to, you want to find out more about Paolo? Go and take him up on that free offer, because it wasn't a joke. Okay, it was. But you can go and explore, and I love that. I love the fact that we can use social media in this positive way now as a place to start conversations, not just a place to shout at each other.
Brilliant. And I think it would be nice to send everyone off to lunch with a bit of a spooky feeling. So come on, of all the stories you've researched, which one freaked you out?
Oh my God. Well, okay, all right. Well, I mean, there's some really freaky deaky ones. I mean, I mean, I love the stories where the person begins it by saying, I don't believe in ghosts, but I've seen a ghost. And I just love that. One of our ones in Uncanny was this eminent geneticist who had seen really scary stuff in his room. But the story that sticks with me most is one that was called My Best Friend's Ghost. And it's about this girl, Laura, and her friend died very prematurely of cancer, very sadly. And then she felt that she saw her best friend's ghost. She was walking through the park and she felt she saw her friend at the moment that the friend died. Just as she got home, she got the phone call to say her friend had died. But then, fast forward about 7 years, and she's watching a medium in a little village hall, and she doesn't believe in mediums. She thinks it's rubbish. She thinks this woman is particularly rubbish. But after the talk, she goes off to try and find a pub, comes back in to grab her friends, and the medium just says, I'm glad you came back, because I've got a message for you. A woman with red hair came to you, and she describes exactly this friend. And then she says the exact words that her friend had said to her just before she died, word for word. And that just sent a massive shiver down my spine when I heard it. And it's the one that, however I interrogate it, I find it hardest to crack, basically. But I love these, and I love the fact that it excites me. It gives me this adrenalized shiver. And, you know, and also, just to say, I always want more ghost stories. So if you've got a ghost story, you want to send it to me, go on my website, dannyrobbins.com, and send me your ghost stories, or just come and grab me if I'm wandering around later. I'd love to hear ghost stories.
Well, you know who to call, so get on it.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen, the lovely, amazing Danny Robbins.
Thank you so much. Thank you.